Hello, we are really pleased that you have chosen the right path to upskill your Excel knowledge. We have designed this course based on experience and using practical examples so that you are able to not only understand the concepts, rather, you learn how to apply these concepts at your work. I hope you will love this course and this will prove as a major stepping stone in your career. So, why wait? Let's start.
Um, it you will get a very good brief introduction to Excel, and you will also learn how to manage spreadsheets. You are going to learn different formulas and also functions and how do you apply all this. uh, you are going to learn about charts and graphs, and we are going to go a lot deeper into that. And the basic idea of this is that after completion of this course you will learn the fundamentals of data analysis, and you will be able to analyze data and uh, also use that to make decisions. Now we are going to start with lesson number 1. Uh, in this lesson, we are going to understand the basic interface of Excel worksheet. Okay, now we are not going to spend a lot of time on this because the idea is that you will learn this as you work along all the lessons, and we do not need to start in the fashion that each and every tab and each and every function and everything is introduced to you. So this would be just a basic interface of Excel worksheet. You're going to learn how do you do data entry and some basic formulas, and we will also make a profit loss statement. So a lot of things you will learn from just one lesson. So so let's go and get started. So this is the Excel spreadsheet in front of you. You can see that this is divided into different columns A, B, C, D, and this goes on till you know you get an idea. So we have a lot of columns and also a lot of rows. The rows are numbered. So you have letters here and numbers here. Well, everybody knows that. And here you have home and certain. We are going to learn these things as we go along. Now let's look at this. Now this one sheet is your worksheet, and if I just plus this new sheet and then I can add another sheet. So now this is your whole workbook. So this is a sheet, and a group of sheets is a single workbook. Okay, you can also rename. Let's say I rename this to, we are going to make a profit loss statement, a very basic one. So let's rename this, and I can add, and I can also hide it or delete it. Let's delete these two, I don't need them. Okay, I can zoom in, and let's do that so that you have a clear view of what we are actually doing. So now if you look at this, you have this cell selected, which is A1. If you select this cell, so this is B3, and similarly this is D5. You get an idea what how are these structured, and this is how you will reference them. And I am also going to show you how, what I mean when I say that I'm going to reference A1. You know, this is the name of this cell. Later we are also going to tell you how you can even rename these cells. We don't need to do that at the moment. Okay, now we were supposed to make say a profit and loss statement. Uh, let's write that: profit and loss statement. Okay, now what do we have? This is basic data entry. You select a cell and you start typing. So this is revenue. Now if you see that when I start typing here in this formula bar, you also get uh, the same thing which is written here. Now this is vice versa. If I select say A4 and I write let's say my product cost, right? So okay, now you can even drag this cell if you want, because this the length of product cost which is written is going into cell B. We don't want that, so let's drag it. But at times you don't understand how much you should drag or how much you shouldn't. So the easiest thing is that when you double click that cell, and it is going to, because profit and loss statement was the largest item written here, so it actually expands in order to uh, get all that is written inside the cell. So just by double clicking you can do that. Okay, now we have revenue, we have product cost, let's say we have marketing cost, and say we call it cost of goods sold, and we also have a website, we have to cater for some HR and some social media promotion and ads. So you get an idea. So this is our revenue, and this is we are not going to go a lot deeper into this. So this is how you basically enter data or enter text. Now see the orientation. Whenever I enter text, it is oriented left. Look at this. So, and this is how this is designed. Now let's put in some numbers. Say I we can have 1,000,000. So one of okay now. So the way the numbers, if you look at this, so the text is left and the numbers are right. Now so it would be a bit difficult for everyone to work with so many zeros at a time, so we need commas. So how do I do that? If you look at it, there are number format, there are here, and you can simply add comma. We also get to decimal places. I currently don't need those decimal places, but if I do, so you have these two, you can decrease decimal or you can increase decimal. Let's increase the decimals, and well, I don't need them. I'm gonna remove them. Okay. Now let's put my product cost. Say my product cost was 200,000. I simply did it. Uh, Now I don't see any commas and everything here, so we are going to fix that. Let's just put in the numbers. So my marketing cost was 100,000, and say 50,000 was my cost of goods sold. The website also was 50,000. The HR is another, say, 100,000, and 50,000 for my social media. Now I want the format of this cell to be the same as this one. So I select this cell, I go and I select the format painter. This is the format painter, and simply I just drag it on the cells where I want the format to be changed. Here, very simple. So now this is all done. Now the thing is, what are my total expenses? I don't really know. So let's add the total expenses. So I need to add all the product cost, marketing cost, and all these costs and come up with a number. That will actually make me understand if I am making any money or I am losing any money. So the one way, the very simple way is that you select this. And how am I going to do it? I'm gonna use this sum, which is auto sum. And when I use auto sum, so in the next cell, uh, under the last number that I was trying to add, or that I selected, I get the sum. What is the sum? 550,000. So let's see if I am making any money. Let's leave one cell, or not. I don't actually need that. Let's call this profit. We are not going to go into taxes or EBITDA and those things because that's way too early for you. This is the first lesson, so we are not going to get into that. So I simply do this. Now you know how you did sum. Now I select B3. I go into B3. I write minus or the subtract sign, and I subtract total expenses, which is B10, B10, and I press enter. So I get 450,000. Now, just in Word, you have these bold, italic, and underline. Let's make this bold so that you get an idea, and also underline this. So this was kind of our introduction to the Excel, and also we made a very basic profit and loss statement, and we are, as we go along, we are going to build on this and also make uh, somewhat a business case, uh, which you will also uh, learn uh, the basics of. Okay, how can you use this data for analysis, and as well as basically making a basic business case for your business. I hope you like this lesson, and please subscribe to this channel and also click the bell icon so that you know immediately when we put in more lessons, and and you learn Excel and understand the power of Excel, which is actually tremendous. Thank you. That was all for today. So this is an introduction to Excel and how to manage spreadsheets, formulas and functions, graphs and charts, and data analysis fundamentals. Uh, I have already explained this in my previous lesson. If you want to know more about this, so you can quickly check lesson number 1. Okay. In today's lesson, we will focus on data duplication methods, including drag, drop, and how do you duplicate the data, copying and pasting and cutting the data. Your fill handle. This is a very unique feature of Excel, and it is a great time saver. It saves a lot of time because in Excel there are times you have to work with huge amounts of data, very big data that you have to handle, and this fill handle is actually something which comes in very handy. And we are also going to work with numbers. We are going to take that example of our profit and loss statement that we worked previously, and we are going to take it a step further, also using the fill handle and everything. And we are just going to look at different cell types, currencies and dates and those things, and somewhat little bit of basic formatting. So let's start. So in lesson number 1, we were working on this profit and loss statement, and we are going to now use the same sheet and take it a step further. But before working on this, we need to start with data duplication methods, as this course is for beginners. So I wanted to touch upon these aspects. A lot of you would be familiar with it, but there could be someone who may not even know this. So let's start with it. The simplest method of copying data is that you select a cell, you right click, you copy, and you paste. Now, if you see that whenever I copy something, so you get it like this. So this is also an indication that if you do not see this broken lines moving around, these broken lines moving around your cell, so it is not actually copied. So I would simply paste. I'm not going to get into paste special and those things, but I'm going to simply paste it. Okay, now this is one way of doing this. Let's delete this. Okay. Whenever you do something on Excel, you need to understand this, that if I say, for example, if I copy this and here in some cell without pasting it, if I write, let's say 1 here, so whatever I have copied or selected, it would be automatically deselected. So you need to know this, because you may select a huge chunk of data, maybe different cells, and when you want to paste it somewhere, but you do something with your Excel sheet, and your selection will actually be gone. Another method is very simple. You use Control C for copying and Control V for pasting. So this is the shortcut which we use a lot. And now this is copying, and the same as something which you can use for cutting. So if I right click here and I use cut, and then I use say paste, so it is actually going to cut it and move here. Similarly, you can use the shortcut Control X and Control V. So this is how you do your copying and pasting and moving. One thing what you can do is that you can also drag and drop your cells. You select a cell, and then when you get this these four arrows sign, you just click on it and you simply drag it. You can see that it is has gone there. I press Ctrl Z and I return it back. This Acha, even if you see here, we had this formula which was B3 minus B10. So if I move say B3 somewhere, there is no impact on my formula. So it doesn't actually matter if you move around the cell. It will now the formula would be F5 minus B10. Uh, Look at this. This is now F5 minus B10. So moving around the formula, moving around the cell which your formula is actually pointing to or corresponding to, will have no effect. So you can freely move around if your formulas are in place, and if you want some cell to move or you want to insert some cell, so it will not have a major impact on there are times when there is impact, but we are not going to get into that because it is now too early for that. But here you can see that we had basically zero impact. Now let's go into the fill handle, which is something which I really like, and it's a great time saver. So let's start it. For example, we had this profit and loss statement. So let's say we say that this is only for 1 month. I say January. I write January, and here I write February. Now, this is a lot of work that if I write March and April and May over here. So one great feature of Excel is that if I select January and February like this, and this small dot at the side, which is called the fill handle, if I use this and drag it, so you see I get March, April, May, which is very simple, and this is something which is very handy, and this is something which will save a lot of time for you whenever you are working with this. Even in January, let's say if I say write it 2021, so and the format is now this January 2021. See, the format has changed, and I drag it. So the impact is on all these cells, right? So this is how you do it. Okay, now another thing is that you can also do this with numbers. Say, let me insert a cell here because, and I say that I also need, say, a serial number. Okay, how many items are there in my profit and loss statement? So I write one. One way is I write one, and then I write two and three. So, but that is not effective. You can do the same with numbers. Simply drag it, and that is how it is done. Okay, now you need to be careful about one thing, that if you write one here and you simply drag this one, so it is going to repeat it. The same thing would be in case of, let's say, uh, anything. Let's say I select this profit here and I drag it, so it will be profit, 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 everywhere it will be profit. So you may need this as well. So this is good, but I didn't want 1 1 1. I didn't want it like this. So how am I going to correct this? So it would be 1 2. If I do it like this and I drag it wherever I want, so you see it's now 1 2 3. Okay, there is something which you can even work in with odd and even, and in a pattern as well. Let's say I use 1 3 5, I do it like this. See, so I get 7, 9, 11 and 13, or simply for these even numbers it's gonna work as well. So you get an idea how this can be done, this fill handle. So this is very handy, and the more you work with this, the more you will understand this. So this is something which I wanted to share with you, and this is something which will be a great time saver for anyone actually, even if you are working with big data, or even in small data, it saves time. So let's delete this and now work on our sheet. So I don't want to work on monthly basis. Let's change this into quarters. Say I use quarter 1 and quarter 2. Let's see. And this is now I'm going to use the fill handle. So I have quarter 3 and 4. Okay, I don't need these. I'm gonna delete this. So basically this would be divided into 4 quarters. I'm gonna double click this. Okay, now and delete this data which I don't need. So let's put in the numbers quickly. Say my revenue roughly stays the same for all these quarters. We can change it. So see, look at this. I am just dragging it and I have this. Okay, now whenever the number size is larger than the cell width, you are going to get something like this. This actually means that the number width is larger, so you need to expand the cell. So one method is you go up and you drag the cell, the width you adjust it like this, or another method is you simply come here at the end of this cell uh, and you just double click, do the same here. And one thing can be that you can even select the whole sheet like this here. Now I have selected it and I double click any rightmost cell, and this gets uh, uh, justified in the way that we want it. Okay, now okay, my product cost, say it increased in the second quarter, also in the third quarter, and then normalized back to this. Now you see we do not have the same format here. So one thing is that but I want this format everywhere, so I would simply going to select the format painter and do this. So same is the thing we can do for all the rest of the data. Now but there is one thing which I want, that this data doesn't show any units. I want it to show some units. Say these are either dollars, or are they Pakistani rupees or real or dirham. You have no idea what they are. So how am I going to put some currency sign here? The easiest method is, you see here in the number area up here, you have the accounting number format, the dollar sign. You simply click dollar, you get this, and as previously we said that if you need these decimal places, they are fine. If you don't need them, you can simply decrease the decimals, and I decrease them. And now you have this dollar, select this format, you have this. Okay, what if you don't need this dollar? You say that I want some other currency. So there is a drop down menu for you near this dollar. If you select this, so you have different Chinese, euro. Say I change this to euro. Now you see, now this is euro. But even if I don't want euro, I say I need Pakistani rupee. So can I select this? Yes, you can. You would right click and then you have format cell options. And then in the format cell option, you can actually select and group revenue. So you can play a lot with this. There are so many things which you can do with this. Uh, so you can use the currency, you can use, say, you can just simply select PKR from your format cells. So it changes to PKR. This is so simple, and this is also something which is fun. Let's change it back to dollar. Let's keep it at dollars. So I have these dollars, and I want the whole format to be in dollars. So I select these as well, and I also select the cells which I haven't done any entry in, but later I will have these entries. So now you have dollars here. Let's quickly put in the numbers. Say I do the same here. Here I make a few changes, not much, but say here, and my website, let's say, stays the same. My HR increases in the last 2 quarters. Say my social media stays the same. Okay, now, and I have for formula here, so I simply select this cell and I drag it, and it is going to calculate it. And the same is for this cell. So I do it here, and yes. So I have all this data now set up for me, all these numbers and all these currencies and everything. And in format cell you can actually select percentages, you can select dates, and you can even customize whatever you select. So there is a lot of space for you, but the best way to learn Excel would be that you play around with it. You make this sheet as you see. I have made this from scratch and it is available to you, so you can actually make a sheet, this sheet or any sheet, and start playing with it. The more you play with the Excel, the more you will learn. So you need to get your hands dirty in order to learn Excel. And so this is all. In this lesson, we will be covering the following: structure of the formula, how a formula is structured. This is very important because in Excel you always use formulas and you know how to structure your formula. If you don't know this, you will not be able to get a lot of benefit from Excel. You also need to understand how cells are referenced. This is important. This is way important, more important than anything. Uh, we are also going to get into addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. You know the use of formula, so this is linked with that. And we will also be exploring two different referencing techniques. One is the absolute reference, absolute cell referencing, and the another one is relative cell referencing. And why do we need these two types of referencing? That is very important. So let's get started with this. Okay, now if you look at this, this is basically the basic structure of the formula that you have. The start of the formula is with
an equal sign. If you don't put this sign, you cannot write your formula. So this is something which is mandatory, and this is something which is going to distinguish your data from ordinary text and a formula. So this equal sign is something which you need to look for and which you need to insert before every formula. Okay, now comes the next part. This A1 and B1, you actually want to add these two, so you need to give reference of these cells. Every cell is referenced. All the columns are, as we have actually discussed this, all the columns have been referenced as letters and the rows are referenced as numbers. So when you write equals to A1 plus B1, that actually means that you want the data which is written in A1, say it's 7, and in B1 you have 8. So and you get the answer. It would be 15 in this case. Uh, and this is an operator. Here it's the addition sign. It could be subtraction, multiplication, and division. We are going to look into this next. So here we are back to our profit and loss statement that we were working in the last two lessons, and we are going to work on this here as well. I actually don't like the look and feel of my sheet, of my worksheet. So let's change it a little bit. I select this profit and loss statement. This is a heading. So I should go to cell styles and let's select heading. Okay, now I have this as my heading. I can also merge this. I will select all these cells and I'm gonna enter merge and center. Now we have this, and I also want the table outlines to show. So I'm gonna select all my data, and here I'm gonna select all borders. It's very easy and it can be done, but I just wanted it to look a little better. Now, let's get on with our formula. We did work on few formulas, but let's delete all these formulas and work on new ones. So this total one, this is a formula. This was which we did through our AutoSum. I'm going to delete all this. So we don't have any formula and we're going to start from scratch. Actually, I also want total here. So let me add total over here. So one easy way, if I want the sum of the total revenue over here in this portion, so what I'm going to do, I'm gonna write equal sign as we just discussed, and look at this cell. This is C3. So I will write C3, and what do I want? I want to add, say it's D3, so it's would be D3. Then I will add E3, and you can see that as I am writing this, so these cells are actually getting selected and the colors are changing and they are actually corresponding to the cell reference. So this is the reference that I am typing. Uh, okay, and finally I have F3, right? And I press enter. So I get the sum here. So, but this is a little bit cumbersome when the number of rows or the columns would be more and your data would be huge. So there is another way of doing the same thing. Let's start here. I wanted total expenses. So my expenses would start from my I will leave the revenue behind and all the cost, these product cost, marketing cost, and everything. So if I insert equal sign and I select this cell, right? Then I put plus, I select, then I addition sign, and I select this, and then I select this, and you actually get an idea how I have added all these. So I get my expense. Okay, now. Okay, yesterday we talked about fill handle, the way when you get autofill and which you can use to fill your data. Let's do it for our formulas as well. So I have this, and this actually sums up. If I press F2, you can see that C4, C5, C6, C7, C8. So all in C, right? Here in D column, I actually want the same. So I don't need to repeat and write each and everything. I can simply drag it and it is going to work. Look at this. And if you press F2 and select this cell, you see that it is actually adding only the cells present in D. Why? Because the formula is actually referenced in relative terms. So when I move here and check this, so this is adding E, and here it is adding only the columns in F, and this is what was actually intended. uh, but what if let's change this, let's delete this, and because we need to get say what percent of income is my product cost of the total. Okay, what is the percentage of product cost when it comes to total income? Let's check that. So how am I going to get that? It's simply, it would be equal sign, you know, and say in quarter 4, I divide this total cost and I get 0.37. Okay, here as the cell uh, is not in percentages, the cell type is not a percentage, so you are going to get it in these decimal format. Let's change it to percentage. So you select this cell, you go up and you select the percentage, so you get it. So 38% of the cost is actually your product cost when it comes to Q4, right? So, okay, now I have this. What if I drag this formula and get the marketing cost? How much is the marketing cost in terms of percentage when it comes to being part of the total cost? Let's see. So I drag this and do it for all the other costs. I get the divide by zero error. Why? I think some of you may have guessed it, because when I will press F2 and you would see that F5 is getting divided by F11. No, that wasn't intended. I want everything to be divided by F10. In this cell, it goes even lower to F12. I don't want that. So how am I going to stick to this cell? So one way of doing that is that I use absolute referencing. So absolute referencing, for using absolute referencing, I am going to press F2 and F4 needs to be divided by F10. I will put a dollar sign before F and also a dollar sign before 10. So basically it is going to freeze this row and this column to F10 only. So the percentage, it will remain the same, it would be 38, and using the fill handle, it's 19, 4, 9, 21, and 9, and they actually make up all the cost. If I drag it further, you're going to see that. So 100%. So this is how all the cost in quarter 4 is there. And also, while exploring this, we also explored that for division, you need this slash. Okay, now let's do multiplication. What is needed for multiplication? Let's say if I just want, I know the revenue is the same. This will not be the case, and we may be changing this, but just to make it simpler, because our idea and the intent is to make you understand, and it's the intent is not to come up with a very realistic business case or a profit loss statement. So the Steric sign is used actually if I want this, say, multiplied by 4. So I would press the sterics and 4. And here you have it. And because I have multiplied it and there was a dollar sign here, so it automatically it puts a dollar sign over here, just like in mathematics. So this is how it is done. We actually don't need this. The intent was to make you understand relative and absolute cell referencing. Now, let's get to your profit. How much profit am I making in every quarter? So it would be simple. I'm gonna write again equal sign, select C3, which is my revenue, minus sign, this dash is actually minus, and select C10. You have 450,000. That's a lot of profit. Okay, now I drag this. I don't see the dollar sign here. We have done it actually. Let's do it again. Now I have dollar. I don't need the decimal places. I am removing the decimal places. So now you actually know how cell referencing is done. How do we do absolute cell referencing, which we did in terms of our percentages? What is relative cell referencing? Basic structure of the formula, and uh, also understanding that when you are dragging and dropping or moving things along, you need to know that if your cells or the formulas that you in your fill handle, if you are using the fill handle, the formula will be replicating in a manner, if you haven't put the dollar sign, in relative terms. So the cell referencing will always be in relative terms, and if you want it to be in absolute terms, you need to put in the dollar sign. I hope you liked this lesson as well. Today we are going to look at the structure of complex formula. In lesson number 3, we learned how the basic formula structure is, and we also applied that to our dummy profit and loss statement. We are going to look at a few complex formula examples and the structure of Excel functions. Excel functions are very important. These are predefined Excel formulas, and we are going to take a look at that, and we are also going to use some commonly used Excel functions which are very handy and great time savers. And when you get into Excel and you are working in Excel, you cannot actually use
Excel to its full potential without the use of these predefined functions, and there are many. There are hundreds of functions available, and you can use them very easily. Now, look at this formula. This is somewhat complex, not very complex, but still the complexity is greater than what we have been doing in the previous lesson. So if you look at this, we are adding cell A1 with B1 and then subtracting cell C2. This is in parenthesis, and it is getting multiplied with D9. Now there are a certain set of rules which govern how these calculations are going to be performed, because otherwise if it just goes from say left to right or right to left, uh, you will not get your desired uh, answer. So you need to actually understand a few rules for for getting into such such formulas. So okay, now the first thing is the parenthesis. If we look here, uh, a1 plus b1 minus c2, they are inside parenthesis, so this a1 plus b1 minus c2, this will happen first. This will be calculated first, and then it will be multiplied with d9. Okay, now there are other rules. After that, exponents, the power. If something is raised up to the power 2 or 3, so after parenthesis, that will be taken care of. And then comes multiplication and division. So you need to be very careful when you are writing your formulas. Even if you write the multipliers later than your addition and subtraction signs, the Excel is just going to multiply that first. It will always follow these rules, and then it's going to add, so you may not get your desired answer. And then the last is addition and subtraction. Okay, now you also need to understand that Excel takes, there is no preference of multiplication and division between these two, and between addition and subtraction. Actually, it is what you write at the leftmost side after equal sign, that calculation will be performed first. Let's look at that. Now here you have a1 plus b1 minus c2 and a1 minus c2 plus b1. In this case, these two are not equal, because it's not like what we have been studying in our mathematics classes. The rule was that addition is done prior to subtraction. No, that's not how the case is here. So it would be a1 will, in the first case, a1 is going to get added to b1, and then c2 will be subtracted. The data in c2 cell, these are all cell references. In the second case, the subtraction is going to happen first, and then, so just understand this rule that it is always from left to right. Whatever you write before equal sign, uh, after equal sign first, will happen first. That will be calculated first. Now in the same case is for multiplication. If you look at these two, so C9 is getting divided by G4, and it's getting then multiplied by say F5. So in the first case, C9 will get divided first, and in the second case, G4 is going to get multiplied with F5 first. So these are a few rules which we need to understand and also keep in mind. Otherwise, we are not going to get our desired results. Now let's go to our spreadsheet. Okay, getting back to our profit and loss statement, which we had been working on since the first lesson. So let's assume, just for simplicity, and also the purpose here is to make you understand the use of complex formulas, that our marketing cost initially over here, this 100,000 every quarter, this was an assumption. We actually did a few road shows, and that was for simplicity purposes. Let's say we uh, assume that that is the only marketing cost which was put in for this certain product, the revenue stream that we are talking about. Uh, so now, getting a realistic number, I will delete this 100,000 and see, as I delete this, all the formulas are in place, so the number quickly changes accordingly because now this is 0. Okay, now let's say we had 3 road shows, one in the north, one in the north, another in say south, and one in east. So let's say we incurred some logistics cost, and there was some payment which we paid to different vendors, and then our team member stayed at certain hotels, and let's say the number of staff, right, how many people were involved, and the total cost. Okay, now in north, let's say the logistic cost was 20,000, and say 15,000 was the vendor cost, and the staff uh, per one person, uh, the cost was $1,000. Okay, now we are not getting dollar sign now, as I already explained that I will just simply select the data, even including the one where I have made no entry, and select dollar, remove these 2 decimal points. We have already done that. Okay, now here I need say 3 staff members were involved. Now I don't need dollar here, so simply I select this one and I change it to number. I don't need decimal places, I will remove them again. Okay, now in the South Road show, say the logistics cost was 25,000. My vendor costed, this was like an expensive event, and 2,000 was spent here. Say 4 people were involved. Let me select this so that we don't get irritated every time we enter a data and it gives me a dollar sign, which I don't really need. Okay, now, and in the last one, once I make the data entry, then I'm gonna put in the formulas accordingly. So in the last one, the East Road show, say this was rather cheaper. Okay, here I have only put 2,000. I think it should have been, let's make it 20,000 here and 20,000 here as well, and here it's 1,500. Okay, and 5 people were involved here. Okay, now this hoteling cost, this is only for the staff members. This has no impact here. Okay, now let's calculate the North Shore. So as we did previously, the first thing that we do is the equal sign. This is something which you should remember, that the equal sign is how you start a formula or a function. Functions we will be discussing next in the same lesson. Now I have to add logistics cost, so this is here. I'm going to add the vendor cost. Now I need to add the hotel cost, and I have 3 members, so it's going to get multiplied with this. The best way is to actually use parenthesis in this case. You don't really need that because the Excel is going to multiply first in any case, but still it's safe to use parenthesis. Now this is my cost here, and I will repeat the same. So these are your costs which you conducted, and let's say here in the first quarter you conducted the north, in the second quarter you didn't do anything, in the third quarter you had this one, and in the fourth quarter you just put in the equal sign here and select the cell, or you can even write, so this is G15, so you write G15 and enter. So this is how simple this is. Now the formula, and as I have already explained it to you, the more you play with this, the more you use these, you are going to learn more. So you really need to get your hands dirty. This was about the complex formulas, and the formula you can actually change it and play around with it. I'm going to leave it at that and go to now the most beautiful and powerful feature of Excel, which are functions. Next. Now we will discuss functions, one of the most important and very helpful feature of Excel. Uh, Without this, Excel will be nowhere. So this is the syntax. By syntax, I mean how you write a certain function. These are predefined formulas, and you don't need to worry about this sum at the moment. What does this function do? You just need to understand the syntax. We are going to explore this and a few other commonly used formulas just after understanding the syntax. So the first and the foremost is your equal sign. This is important for any formula and any function. This, okay. Now this is the name of the function. You actually have to write a function with, and there are hundreds of functions already defined in Excel, and these are the arguments. So this sum function is going to act on cells from A1 to A5, all the data that is written in that, and it is going to return a value. In this case, it's going to add all the data that is present in A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, all this column A, and return us with an answer. Now we are going to explore the functions of Excel at a deeper level. Now, if you remember, we inserted our formulas, these big and hectic formulas. We actually don't need to do that. Let's change this formula with our function, the function that we actually use, sum. The sum function, it, when you put the equal sign and you write sum and then parenthesis, they are actually required for any function, as we expect. Now I want the product cost, marketing, and all these costs, and I'm going to drag it down here. So these are my arguments that I want to do, and I'm going to close the parenthesis and I'm going to press enter, and I get the same answer. which I used to get earlier. So it's sum, and then you add all these up. Okay. Now, and the fill handle will work in the same manner. You drag it, and here it is. You get all the answer. But now, if you look at this, so it's not uh, D4 plus D5 plus D6. No, it's simply sum D4 till D9. So these are the arguments. Okay, there can be multiple arguments or a single argument depending upon functions. You don't need to worry about that. We are going to look at it at a later stage. Currently, we are going to work with a few very common and some functions which are very handy for people who are just beginning to work in Excel. So one is the understanding of the sum function. Okay, now there is another thing. If I want to get an average of my, say, product cost. Okay, what is the average cost of all these expenses? Let's say I add here an average, and I don't need to do all the work. I will just select this cell, all these cells, and select. I'm talking in terms of formatting. Select format painter. Click here. Okay, now. So everything is there. Whatever I write, it will be in dollar terms. So that is something which we just got out of the way. Format painter is something which you will be using a lot, and it is going to help you a lot. Okay, now I don't need average for this. Revenue, it's the same. It should not have been like this. Let's change this. If we don't like it, we can change it. You can always change it. Let's say here we add this, and here we say we made double the amount. Okay, now I think this now solves it. So let's get an average revenue. So what am I going to? The syntax is again it's equal average. You don't need to worry about the names of the functions. You will get it. There are also a list of all these formulas. I'm going to tell you just now. But let's put in the average formula. So if you want to calculate the average, you put the average parenthesis, and you just simply drag it, and you got the average. Okay, now as I told you, the cell width is not enough to accommodate the number size. So you have this, and you drag it down, you get your average. This is something so handy and something so time saving. These are predefined formulas. You just need to put in the argument and get the result. You don't need to think about the logic of the formula. You just need to, but one thing is that you need to understand what is the return value of your function. That is very important. Okay, now we have done averages. So what else we can do? We can say do minimum value, in which quarter the values were minimum. We can have maximum value, or simply we can get a count of the value. It will return the same, but just for understanding purposes. So, and I'm gonna select this format painter, and let's do it here. Okay, now so we have this. So what is the minimum value? You write minimum, min is the argument, and you select this, and you get this. Okay, so the minimum value was 1 million. Okay, now you also need to understand that you can select different cells. For example, I want to
see if what is the minimum value between first quarter uh, in your marketing cost and the fourth quarter. And I don't need to check the comparison of quarter 2 or 3. So I only need the comparison of only these two quarters. So what I can do is that I write minimum, put in the bracket sign. Now I select C5, put in a comma. So the next argument is here. I select this and I get 38,000. So you get the idea that I actually ignored this. So okay, the maximum is going to tell you the real story here. So in maximum you can do the same. Let's say I want to find in this cell the maximum value of the whole table. So is equal to maximum, you put a bracket and you select the whole table, whole of it, see, and you get 2 million. So this, in this whole table, this 2 million, this one is the maximum value. Okay, if let's say if I want to find the count, how many values are here totally, how many entries have been made, so I would simply do is equal to count bracket and say I select these entries. Okay, how many entries of roadshows, how many entries that belong to roadshows are here, and I close the brackets and I press enter. So there are 15. Okay, the format it can actually change because this is now. So there are a total of 15 entries, and you can now understand that we have used sum, minimum, maximum, count, and average. These formulas, these functions are really important, and you are going to repeatedly use these. Okay, now, as I told you earlier that Excel has hundreds of functions, so where you can find them. So in the upper side, you can select formulas, and I select it, and see, you have financial, logical, text, data. There are so many functions which are here, even text, logical, functional, mathematics, uh, there are a lot of formulas and a lot of functions, sorry, a lot of functions and predefined formulas. So uh, you can call them formula, but they are predefined, they are functions. So they take some argument and they will return a value. So you need to understand that you put an equal sign, write the name of the function, your desired function, put in the required argument. The arguments may be different. There could be multiple arguments. In this, we didn't get into a lot of complex functions, which we will do later as we go along this course, but you get an idea how this works. We did with the whole table, the whole array, and also we got the return value of the count. Today we are going to learn about using the formula tab because it's very difficult to remember each and every formula. So Excel actually helps you in getting the formula for your desired requirement by displaying as you are typing your formulas, and also there are a list of formulas. We are going to look into that. Also, I will also be touching the searching for the right formula. You actually need to know what your formula is going to return. Otherwise, you won't get your desired information or what you are trying to calculate. We will also have a quick review of sum, average, minimum, maximum, and count functions. We actually did that in lesson number 4, but a review is required because these are somewhat the most commonly used Excel functions. Also, we will be introducing you to number formatting, currencies and dates, all those things. So let's start. Hello everyone, we are back to our profit and loss statement. We have been working on this since lesson 1. We have developed this from scratch. Okay, now let's get to the important thing of our lessons today. Now, okay, here we have the sum formulas in place. You can see it over here. Let me delete all the formulas because that is actually important. Okay, now I have deleted these also, these averages and all of them. I don't actually now, and we have this divided by 0, this error. Let's remove this as well. Okay, one way of the writing the formula was that you put in the equal sign and then you write the formula, but there are other ways as well. So you, if you can see here, you have this insert function over here near the formula bar. If I click this, I get this. So what is so good about this? I will look for some SUM, I enter that, and I get all the formulas related with SUM, sum. Okay, now I select sum. I don't need these, so I'm going to select sum, and you can see that it adds all the numbers in a range of cells. Okay. Now here it will also make it easier for you. It is asking you what cells it needs to add. So I want it to add from C4 till C9, and I get the total expense. Actually, let me write here. So these are all my expenses: product cost, marketing cost, cost of goods sold. Now I am using this fill handle again, and let me drag this, and I have all this sorted out again. So so we have the sum function like this. Here it's a simple formula. We have subtracted total expenses from revenue to get the profit. Not going to interfere with this. Okay, now let's look at the average formula. I want the average of all these, so I will again go to insert function. I'm going to write average and press go. So I have average and related formulas, but I want returns the average of its argument, which can be numbers or names, arrays, or different or references that contain numbers. So I have this. Now it is asking me about the cells, so I'm going to select. These are the cells I want the average of, and I have it now. Okay, you can also double click this to get this, or you can drag it. Let's drag it. So I have this. We have all the averages. Okay, now minimum. If you want to find out the minimum number in each row, I have put in the equal sign. I write MIN and I search for it. I get the minimum, and in the same manner I get the. Now if you see, this is a really handy tool, because nobody can remember all these formulas. There are so many of them, so you can actually search for it, and if you don't know the formula, you can search it, and Excel is also going to tell you what the formula does. Now let's see, and for maximum, just to reinforce this, let's do it again. So I want now maximum. I search for it. Okay, now it is telling you returns the largest value in a set of. So here this is max A, returns the largest value in a set of value, does not ignore logical values and text. So you know, every formula does something different. We need max. We are not going to look into other formulas, but if you want to explore, you can actually do that. So it is now asking me for the number. I want the maximum over here. Okay, here if I just double click this, you know, I get these numbers, and obviously there are numbers over here, so it actually calculated the maximum even over here. I don't need them. I'm going to delete this, and the formatting actually has changed. Let's go to our format painter and change it back. Now we have that. Okay, now count. Okay, there is something really important which I want to tell you about the count function when it comes to text and number. So there is a difference. So let me search count, and I want to, it asks me what I want to search. Let's say I select this, I get 0. Okay, it's a number, so already we have done that. So it's a number and it is 0. Why? Because it does not count text. If you simply press F2 on your keyboard, so here it is not counting any of these because all of this is text. Now let me drag this here. You can actually do that. You can even increase or decrease the, like this. Now I have included these. Now I will decrease them. So you need to remember the count does not take text into account, and it only counts the numbers. So if you want, if you have somewhere the text, it will not be counted. The value, it won't be run. So we have 9. Let's reduce these two zeros after the decimal point. So you have the count as well. So you this is something which I really wanted to share with you because this is very important. Now you know how to play with your formulas more. Now let's get to some other interesting stuff, which is the number formatting. Now let me go. For example, you want dates, some date. Let's say I write 5th May 2021. So I have this, and if you check here, Excel has already identified this as date, you know. So it's not a number, it's a date. Okay. Excel actually gives the option of different number formats, general, number, currency, and there are many others also, but let's stick to the ones which are here on the screen. So you have a long date version, which is Wednesday, May 5, and also a short date version. And if it is a date, see, it is increasing, and let's put in the long date. You see, it actually works here. Okay, now if you say May 3rd, now if I drag this, because it is not formatted as date, so it won't actually work. It is just general text because Excel doesn't know. But if you write, say, 3 May, now look at this. It is actually corresponding to 3 May. I did not write the year, so it will automatically take it like this to the most current year, and you know, it increases. Okay, on the other hand, if I just write a number, say 21, okay, I have written 21, no date, no month, nothing, and I change this to date. say a short date, it is going to go into 1900. So do you see that if you don't put in the year, it is going to go to the most recent year? And if you don't put in any, just a number 21, so it's the 21st day of January 19, so it is going to go in this manner. So this is how it is. Okay, and the format is really important, because if it is not selected, and if it is a general format, it is going to change it into a number. So 44321, I think this is not what is required. I don't, it's not a number. And actually it is giving you the options: in date what it would be, in the what it would be, in time what it would be, in percentage what it would be. So this is really nice, something which you need to explore. The number format, let's change it back, or I think long rate. This is a great feature, it is going to help you. Okay, now we have these as customs, but these were actually revenues. So this is currency. Let's change these to currency, and you have it here. Now you have it. Okay, I don't need these two zeros, so let me, now it makes sense to us. So as you see that these number formats are really important, that whenever I now click here, it is currency here, it is still custom. Let's change this as well. This is a number. I change this number. I don't need these two zeros, so I remove this. So I hope you liked this, because today we worked on something really interesting, your formula bar, and how you can search for the most relevant function that you are looking for. And it is also give you a brief description. Counts the number of cells in a range that contains numbers. So what I was explaining earlier, that which contains number, if it is text, it won't count them. Okay, now let's cancel this. And also the date format and different number formats, and their utility. So we have also used sum and average, minimum, maximum, count. Now we actually did that in lesson 4, but now we have done them differently.